Morning, hope you're doing really well. So today we're in Portsmouth. Long overdue really to do a lot of Portsmouth history, but I'm going to start working my way through it hopefully probably later on this year. So what I wanted to do was today I specifically wanted to do a location that not many people have explored properly, let alone documented. And the irony about it is that it's something that's been featured on my channel quite a lot, which is obviously starfish decoy sites. Now in this video we're going to be exploring two starfish decoy sites, which again isn't necessarily unusual, because if you watch my one that I did in Essex, that was also a similar situation. Although on that one, they were literally a stone's throw away from each other. In this instance, these two starfish decoy sites are literally across from each other on the opposite side of the marsh. So it's going to be a nice little bit of exercise today. But what makes these starfish decoy sites really special? Well, I suppose you're going to have to watch the history lesson. But trust me when I say it, these might be the most important starfish decoy sites that we have in England. So enjoy your history lesson and we'll come back to it. See you on the other side. Portsmouth in World War II must have been a scary place to live, with the constant threat of German bombing raids, so it's no surprise that the city still retains a lot of its history from that era. Situated on either side of Farlington Marshes, on this video we explore two of the decoy bunkers that help divert enemy bombs away from the city. Its role would be to simulate the harbour and port to provide the illusion of the city under attack, using decoy fires that would be oil fuelled, so that instead of bombs falling on the city, they would hopefully fall on the marshland in which these fires would be located. The sites were controlled by a master control centre at Fort Purbrook, located on Portsdown Hill. It had a commanding view of the decoys at Farlington Marshes, Langston Harbour and Hayling Island. But what makes this site so special is that these starfish bunkers would be part of what was labelled as the most successful starfish decoy operation in Britain of the entire war. When, on the night of the 17th to 18th of April 1941, over 140 enemy aircraft were lured away and unloaded in excess of over 200 airdropped munitions into Langston Harbour and Farlington Marshes, originally intended for the city. Sadly, even though it was heavily defended, including many air raid shelters to protect the workers and civilians, between July 1940 and May 1944, Portsmouth would experience 67 air raids, with the main target of the German bombs to hit its famous port, causing 930 deaths and wounding almost 3,000 people. Without these decoy sites, the casualty rate could have easily been higher. So it's sites like these that, even though left abandoned and victim to time, will never be forgotten for the vital role that they played during World War II in the defence of the country. Hi, we're back. So the first thing I want to say is it is dead easy to park here, and it's free. I can't believe it. A free place to park. So what I've decided to do on this video is I wanted to make my way to the furthest one first and then head back, because actually the other starfish decoy site is right by the car park. In fact, you see it when you drive round and it looks pretty overgrown. I'm not exactly sure what the conditions going to be like on both of them, but I suppose the only way is to sort of explore them and find out for ourselves. But this is amazing marshland. It's very similar to where I come from in Kent. If you lived on Cliff, for example, this would probably look quite familiar to you, with this sort of incredible bleak landscape. And yet the irony is that we're in Portsmouth. basically. But hopefully you enjoyed the history lesson and the importance of these. I mean, like I said before, I've done a lot of starfish decoy sites on this channel, but it's just nice to actually do probably the most historically important ones, because as you found out in the history lesson, they were actually used in terms of they'd actually seen proper action for their intended use. And really, the whole principle of why I think, one of the main reasons why I do a lot of starfish decoy sites on my channel, which I've mentioned before, is actually for very good reason, which is that the people who work there or serve there, depending on however you want to phrase it, are pretty much some really unsung heroes of World War II. And I hope that when I make these starfish decoy sites, these videos on them, that it really brings back a little bit of that reminder that we're so used to exploring big deep shelters or massive underground structures, that actually when we explore something a little bit more different, that it probably really puts it a bit more into perspective of how important these tiny little sites were. And as we look onto the marsh now, I'm straddling across, it's really not hard to imagine that during World War II, this place would have been literally looking like a replica from above anyway, a rough replica to distract the Germans from obviously bombing their main target of Portsmouth, which is where the finger of doom, it's over there. So yeah, anyway, thought I'd just mention that before we actually get there. So let's carry on. Come on. Oh, moo cows. Hello. Can I come and see you? Can I come see you? Oh, utterly adorable. I don't say went there. Let's carry on. Right, so we made it. That was nice actually, it was a nice little walk, it wasn't too bad. I was expecting it to be a little further away than it was, but it was easy to find and we're here, so let's go in and explore it, come on. Okay, so before we start, there's a lot of stinging nettles around there, so it's a good job I was wearing trousers and some rough shoes. But yeah, look at this. Wow. Oh, a starfish decoy site. Let's get some light on this. He says, well no, the torch, oh there we go. I was going to say the torch don't work, didn't press it properly. So I would assume this is the generator building, judging from the hole that would supply the vent. There's another hole there. It's really quite big in here actually. It's probably one of the bigger starfish decoy sites I've seen. As you can see here, there is what would have looked like another little alcove, well, recess part, I suppose. But that, for some strange reason, has been removed. So you can see, with the eye of faith, if I stand back, you can see above. And then, this clearly would have been the generator room because of the vent holes, I suppose we're going to politely call them. Excuse my terminology for today. It's interesting how, there's a gate here. I don't think this is original. I think this is probably from the farmer. It's a very unusual gate that would look like it's World War II dated. But let's, before I say anything else, I just want to have a look That is it. Yeah, okay. So, this is the blast wall. And as you look out there, there's the hole there, but it's very unusual because it's... I mean, I've not seen one like this before, where this is it. And obviously as you walk in, normally you'd have like a command post or something similar like that. You'd normally have it in two separate sections, but in this, it looks like there's just one huge section which would have been the generator. In fact, with the eye of faith, there's a lot of rubble that's there. Clearly somebody's been using this. I don't think I've seen one like this before. But I think because when we go to the other one, which is right across the opposite side of the marsh, literally facing it, that's definitely got a command post section which has been split. So I would assume this one is fundamentally just a generator, and because it's not too far a distance, I mean, it took me 15 minutes to walk here, if that. So not far at all. But it is such a vital piece of history because, like I said, this is the twin of the other one. And because we haven't seen the other one yet, I knew that one of them had got definitely two separate sections, which would be a generator and a command, or like we call it a command post, but really it was for the people who were there for their own special section. What I'm interested in is to see that one now, because this one's a very unusual design. So even here, you've got a bricked recess part here. I say recess, but it sort of is really, isn't it? And then just this, and it's large. It's substantial for just a generator. What I want to do is, I think what's probably best is let's look at it from the outside, because we haven't really done that yet, and then we'll talk about it some more, I reckon. Okay, so we've made it out. There is only one section from what I can see. I was desperately thinking there must have been a second part to this, but there really isn't from what I can see, unless I'm being really silly. I was just surprised that there was only a generator, but that was quite big. And when you look at it, you have to sort of walk round. That literally is it. Now, to put this in perspective of where the other one is, so that's our decoy site obviously here. The other one, excuse the wind, I'm trying to figure out, so the car park is roughly there. I don't know if you can see, let me do this, so if I line out with this, there's a white building, Finger of Doom, it's roughly there, and then this whole marshland pretty much follows my finger and comes back round. You could really, I mean the thing is you could walk the marsh from down there. I'm going to go back the way I came because it's actually a shorter distance. Not that I could do with the exercise. I know a lot of you saying you're fat, you know, you could do with lose some more weight then. But I've got a few more things to explore today. But yeah, so, excuse the stuff on there. That's our first Starfish Decoy site. And for what it's worth, it is an incredible piece of history. Again, sorry that I've left my bag and my torch on there. But like I said, it's a piece of history that I think really gets neglected in Portsmouth's sort of lexicon of history. Portsmouth's got so much stuff. It's probably like the equivalent of, I mean, it's hard not to compare Portsmouth to Dover. And we overlook Dover because we look at all these big underground sites. And yet, sometimes the smaller sites that are in Dover, almost just as important as the larger ones. But in this instance, this served a vital role during World War II in the protection of Portsmouth's harbour. And like, obviously, as I keep reiterating in the history lesson, the fact that this is the most important one in World War II. Well, both of them. And to say that I've come here to document these is a absolute honour and a privilege that I've finally got to do it. And obviously it just caps off. Obviously I will be doing more Starfish Decoy sites obviously on the channel, but this is the best one. These are the best ones. You know, I'm just putting it out there. And if you are local enough and you've got an interest in a history, love of this type of history, this what I would call unsung World War II history, then you've got to come here. You've got to come down to Portsmouth and check these out. Even though that's an insignificant hollow shell, trust me when I say, when we go to the other one, it'll all add up in context. So without me, quit drabbing and fool, let's go. Come on, we'll explore the other one. Well, annoyingly, I think I've been defeated by the second one, which is a bit of a shame because it was probably really good inside. Yeah, so I suppose the good thing about this though is that we can get a good perspective on it. So we know that that would be the escape hatch / observation part, which is why that's reinforced. But if we look down, you can see that there's no ladder or anything that would have been here, which would have been great because I would have been able to have climbed down into it. Now, I've just had a look at the entrance. Now, what I could sort of see roughly was that the Eye of Faith, that looked like maybe at one point you could actually walk into that main part here. Now, I know some of you are going to be like, oh, I could probably climb down onto that. But look, there's the entrance. And there is a tree here. But I don't really fancy sort of going down on that, if I'm being brutally honest. And by the looks of it, I don't think many people have. Because I did have a good look and I thought maybe I could climb down into that, but that is so overgrown. It's just all thistles, thorns, stinging nettles, the works. So unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame really, I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty gutted by that we can't go in. I may take a look round, because it does look like you can. There was at one point a part where you could walk into that, but that looks so overgrown. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, which is a shame. Real shame. But if we, like I said, we're judging it for what it is. What we can safely say is that it's split into half. So obviously, like a typical Starfish Decoy, you walk in, here would have been the generator, and we know that because I was going to say I thought there was some generator holes. There are some little vent holes, I suppose we can say them. There might be one down there, although I can't see it. And then, like I said, on that side is obviously the command section. And then if we looked over, this is really difficult to do, but almost adjacent would have been the other one that we explored. But I'm really gutted by that. So genuinely thought we could do that. I'm going to have a walk around anyway and just see if there is like an entrance that I'm stupidly missing out on, but I don't really fancy climbing down that tree, to be honest, just because there's no guarantee that I can get back up again, which is something I've learnt over the years. It's all well and good going into something, but can you get out the same way? Probably not. I suppose we're just going to have to try our hardest and see if we can walk round, but if not, hey look, at least we're here to document. Well, no. No is the answer. So that's the hatch. That big tree is where the entrance is, which is a good marker point, but you know, I mean, there's no way. Oh god, even getting through this is pretty bad. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm just, frankly, my dear, I'm not doing that. And it's a bit of a shame because really, this one was the one that I was most excited about. And there are pictures online of it actually being explored where I'm sure some people have crawled down on either one. But again, being on my own, I don't have that sort of safety or that comfort of knowing that somebody can be there to not only rescue me, but actually be there to support me. So, yeah. I seem to keep doing this at the moment where I'm going into these situations and I'm like, oh, nobody's going to be here if I have an accident, or I can't get out if I need to go in. And I'm learning, I've learned over time to try and restrain myself a little bit more from not being like a rabbit in headlights and right down the drain pipe maybe, and just sort of go straight in and then forget the consequences of where I go or what I do. Interestingly enough though, however, on the information board, there's an information board around here. Now it mentions the anti-aircraft sites obviously because we're on the marsh, and it mentions the decoy sites. It does not label them on the map. So people of Portsmouth who are responsible for the heritage and everything, I really think you should maybe consider labelling these on here, because otherwise people won't really realise the significance of how important this is. Actually, let me show you, because I am here. So, here we go, the wildlife trust, I suppose we should sort of be saying to them. But it does say, look, it says anti-aircraft battery and decoy sites. This is the map. There's the car park where we are. No information whatsoever. And then, where are we? We came down here, past the information shelter. It should be there on that adjacent part. That's where the second one was, or the first one that we went to. And then if you look across, which is labelled as the main marsh, no information to tell you that this was, except for the decoy sites. That's it. But nothing else. Which is a bit gutting really as a lover of history, that you don't have that to hand. More importantly, that we can't explore it, but you know, probably for obvious reasons, that it proves as a bit of a sort of go down there. No, just looking, but again, way too overgrown. Let's have a look at. Sorry, I apologise for the wind as well. But yeah, there you go. Oh, I wonder if we can take a look in. I'm sure there's loads of people who have been like saying, "Oh, I went in there." Oh, well, yeah, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you went in that way. But I just, no way I can do that. which I'm genuinely gutted about. Easy enough if you had a ladder, or more importantly, somebody else with you. But on this occasion, no. Right, I'm going to go in the car and we'll conclude it from there. Hi, so I'm in the car. It got a bit windy out there. The irony was I wasn't too far away from the car that I could have put my wind muff on for this camera, because I have got it on me normally. Yeah, so thoughts and feelings. I'm not going to lie, I'm really gutted about this. Because that other decoy site, the last one that we explored, probably would have been one of the best ones that we could have done on a historical context to actually go inside. We know obviously from where we were on top what the layout would have been, because obviously the escape hatch. Now, interestingly enough, when we went to the other one, looking at it, there wasn't an escape hatch on the other decoy site. So obviously we know, obviously via that would have been the obviously secondary site for the marsh, really. But the fact that we didn't get into what I would class as the main one, where obviously there would have been a generator in one half of it, and then obviously the command area on the opposite
half of it. So what we can surmise is, even if I've seen photos of it, but even then it's fairly obvious the fact if you'd walk in, then on one side you would have had the generator block, and then the other side you would have had the command part with the escape hatch, and obviously the observation part, which was unusual. So that steel that we saw, or iron actually might have been, on top, you could look through those holes from what I remember reading about on that. But yeah, what a shame. But I suppose the good thing is that because of how overgrown it is, I know that probably people have probably climbed down that tree. I say loosely. I mean, again, there's no way, me being on my own today, I was going to go down there and expect that I was going to come out the same way that I went in. And I think that's a valuable lesson for all of you solo explorers out there, is that that's one of the main things you always have to consider, is that it might look tempting to go into somewhere, but actually, can we get out the same way that we got out, or do we have to find alternative routes? Now, with that decoy bunker, it's really easy to know that there was no other way to get out of there unless we would have pushed through that brambles and everything else. And on a warm summer's day today, there was no way I was going to do that. Obviously, cuts and everything else. So, for one of the most important pieces of history that we can find, it's a shame that we really couldn't conclude it, but that's probably the whole part of exploring, isn't it, at the end of the day? The most important thing is that they existed. I've documented them for the channel. I've put their importance on. There is some really nice historical records if you ever want to sort of like type in decoys, starfish decoys for Portsmouth. There's a little more information on them than probably what I gave you on the history. I just wanted to put everything in context for you on that. Well, that's enough of me jibber-jabbering, chatting on. Off to some more adventures. Stay tuned, and thank you so much for your love, your kindness and your support. And I really hope you enjoyed this video for what it was. And I suppose probably when I get home tonight, I'll probably reflect on it and go, do you know what? It was better to document it and go through at least one out of the two than not document it at all and actually neglect the fact that this is a really important site. And obviously an important site that really deserves to be on the channel. So yeah. Alright, well, in your more words of Phoenix history, thank you so much for staying with me, because history matters, and I will see y'all very soon. Take care, everybody. Love, kindness, and everything else. Because history matters. Take care. Ready? Kapow!